All right. Well, welcome to Wake Up to Your Life Magic, a podcast dedicated to elevating the conversations around leadership in this world through the conversations that we are having. You can check out more at wakeuptoyourlifemagic.com. And today I have with me Wes Towers, who's all the way from Australia. Hello, Wes.
Hey Helmut, it's good to be with you. It's my morning and your afternoon, I believe. So good to connect from the future, coming at you from the future here.
I know, right? Right. You're ahead, I guess, technically. Well, hey,
Yeah.
tell the audience a little bit about what you do and who you serve.
Yeah, sure. So I run a business called Uplift 360 here, just outside of Melbourne in Australia. We do website design and development and SEO, search everywhere optimization, we're calling it now, because it's not just Google, but helping mostly trades, construction related businesses in that space. So it's interesting.
Very interesting. And I'm sure we'll have some interesting dialogue as we think about AI and the way the world's changing and searching and being relevant in the online communities, right? As people look to expand their businesses. So tell me, Wes. I think I love for audiences to get a sense of like who you are, and tell me maybe tell the audience a story about something that changed or shifted something in your life that was significant.
Yeah. Well, when I think about who I am, it evolves and it's multifaceted. Like all humans, we're not one thing. And but to go back a few years ago, 3 years ago, roughly speaking, I went through a pretty horrendous divorce process, and so that was a real wake up call for me personally. And so one day I was in the family home with everything as normal, and then the next day I was sleeping under the desk at the office, and it was a pretty rude wake up call at that time. And not only had the marriage failed, but also as a result of that, I had to get a business valuation because all of this goes needs to be assessed and everything. And but that was a rude kick in the teeth as well. So the business valuation came in a lot lower than what I had anticipated as well. So not only had my business, my family had collapsed, and I was obviously going to miss the children and so on, and a whole bunch of things on that front. But my business, evidently, according to the valuer, wasn't really worth much at all. In fact, he put down the valuation less than the assets that were included. I'm not sure how that worked, but in any case, it was worthless, my business. And he put it down as a major threat that AI had the potential to wipe out my career path in industry and all that kind of stuff. So a really traumatic time in my life, but really became a turning point, really, and set me on a new path, which has been exciting and incredible. And actually business has flourished. I've just reported the best financial year I've ever had as a consequence of introducing some of the AI tools and techniques into my business. So I turned the what was perceived to be a threat into an opportunity, and things are looking good now. So yeah, interesting times.
So it's interesting, right? We as humans, we go through these things and we look at something like a failed relationship or family conflict, business valuation, and they're all defined by how we respond, aren't they? They're all defined by how we get up and move afterwards.
Yeah, that's right. So I guess a time in that really difficult time, I was laying on the floor in my office, crying a blubbering mess because everything was falling apart. This was at the very worst point in that time of my life. But I realized I had a really important meeting in 5 minutes on Zoom. So I pulled myself together, presented, and sold the biggest client of my life. And I thought, wow, like I was able to compartmentalize things to a large degree, personal life and business. And I mean, I'm good at what I do, so I was able to deliver in that instance, but having spoken to people, I realized, hey, this is no way to live permanently. To compartmentalize, it's okay. It's good and bad. So enabled me to get the job done and continue to work successfully, but also it enabled me to mask some really deep traumas in my life, which was unhelpful for the long term. So yeah, the good and bad of being able to compartmentalize was a massive lesson for me.
Yeah. The goal is to not have a compartment, right? But to be able to live one fluid, solid experience. And I will say, just as a parent, you said you're a father, right?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Yeah. So as a also divorced father, I think that the challenge of getting to go through it ourselves and still take care of the kids in the process is something we all get to work through. So, and as someone who's now I think I'm like 10 years past 11, some a substantial amount of time passed. I think it might even more than that. I can't even remember right now. I think it's 15 years actually. We never stop that healing work. So thanks for sharing that story. Tell me about the vision for your business and also what you're creating in the world and what you'd like to see or help people do in the next 5 to 7 years through the work you do and the areas you're investing in, whether in work or outside.
Yeah, so with work, I suppose there was a lot of personal lessons, and that's why I share that story. Just the humanization of brands. I think looking forward to the future, and even now with AI, it has the capability of producing masses of content and information, and really refined and polished robotic information where we people buy from people and we connect with people and we relate to people, and the humanity, even the vulnerability in humanity, I think it's really engaging. There's a real beauty in the human aspect of who we are, and that comes with the good and the bad and the positive, negative, all that sort of thing. So I do websites, I do marketing, help people communicate their message on their websites. And so to be able to humanize their message has become really, really important. It's so easy just to jump on ChatGPT and punch out a bunch of content and think that that's going to help you rank well in Google and show up in everywhere online. But it's not uniquely the personal brand if it's a small business built based on a personal brand, or it's not even the company's brand message. It's just, if you just jump on ChatGPT and punch out some content, it's just the average of everybody else. And none of us want to be average. We want to be unique and stand out in the marketplace, and we have a compelling message and offering. We don't want to be the same as everybody else. So introducing some of those human elements into business, I think, and particularly in our marketing messages, is going to be more important than ever before to humanize our brands. So that's kind of what I'm helping people with, and using AI and helping people use AI in a way that doesn't diminish their message, but actually amplifies their core values and message, because that's what's really important.
No, it is. It is. In fact, I teach similarly, or at least I say I do some work, right, in my 9-figure business leadership work and strategy around edge, right, the edge of your brand and where you meet the market. And it's so important for people to really know who they are and what they are in the world, because that's really what people are attracted to, right? Their unique human connected message that is uniquely them, uniquely their company, as you're speaking. And I think you're absolutely right. The humanity is what we're attracted to and what we need to understand about one another when we're buying, selling, trusting, promoting. Um, and yeah, I think it's a real challenge as we think about the world of AI. Let's talk a little bit more about that. So one of the important things I talk about on the show is the need for um, a greater sense of morality as we think about using AI, a greater sense of connectedness, right? And actually caring and loving for one another when we think about AI and what it can do in the marketplace. And also the need for spirituality or love is in terms of guiding principles and values. Where do you think those play out in business, and how would you like to see those shift in the future?
Yeah, well, values in a business are really, really important now. So we started out doing a lot of, well, we do websites, but we do a lot of search engine optimization. We're calling it search everywhere optimization. And back in the day, you could just sort of write bland content. And as long as you're doing it slightly better and more frequently than your competitors, that was good enough to rank really highly in Google, and then therefore attract visibility and attention, and hopefully grow the business. But now, because it's just so easy to punch out that generic stuff, you've got to add some form of uniqueness or value. So we're setting up people. The first thing when we're writing content to get attention online is to get the voice right. So how you say what you're saying, the style guide of writing the content. So that's one core pillar. And it's based on your values, right? So you communicate in a certain way, which is integral to who you are as a business. So how you say it, but what you say. So your core compelling message. And so that's oftentimes where it's difficult to get that out of a client. But once we start asking them more so, what frustrates you about your industry, or what other similar businesses doing that you think is the wrong way to do it, and what do you do differently to them? That they're easier conversations for whatever reasons, those negatives, but then to take those negatives and spin it around to the opposite, and say that from a positive standpoint, what sets a brand apart is a really core foundational thing. So those unique points of view, anything that you can add that's uniquely you, your brand, your business, is really important. So case studies, stories, examples, speaking of what you're actually doing is really important. It's not just the generic punch it out of an AI platform. So that it's authentically the company.
Yeah. And I think authentically, right, then the motive of the company, the intention of the company, the purpose of the company in the world is part of that message. And I think we're asking
Yeah,
a lot of
100%.
ourselves, like, why are we here? Why are we in business? What is
Yeah,
our intention, right? Is it purely for our
yeah.
profits, or is it also to help people in the process, right?
Yeah. The authenticity, the trust, the relationships that you build, because people buy from people. So, how do you connect as a human in a digital age? So, I mean, even simple things. We now have meetings online, and that there's great advantages for that. But it's just a slight step removed from the human element of just meeting, pulling the knees under the same table and having a conversation over a coffee. There's greater value in the authentic than the digital, but the digital has the capacity to amplify and syndicate a message far more broadly. Obviously, you and I were on the opposite sides of the world. We can't have a physical coffee, but we can do our best through these forms of
Yeah. Well,
communication as well.
and to your point, right, there's so much that's communicated that's not for our perceptions as humans. There's so much more that's communicated by the room and the style of the clothing and the height and the weight and the energetic, right,
Yeah,
connection that two people have. It's interesting because very
yeah,
similar to what you're describing. Um, the authenticity of the brand and the authenticity of the connection to the consumer, it's very much similar to what I teach in leadership, right? So as a corporate leader, if I'm not authentic with my people, if I don't authentically care for them, they know it. It's not a it's understood, it's felt. You have to be actually what you say you are.
yeah,
That's how we
yeah,
work
hundred
as humans.
percent.
We're very good at perceiving.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I mean, in the time that it was really rough for me, I started introducing some practical things just for my own mental health, and did breath work and cold plunges and all sorts of things like that, just to recenter, because we're in this fast paced digital world as well. So it's just
Yeah.
there can be so much overwhelm, and to just slow down. I think you mentioned spirituality, if I could say the
Yes.
word. I feel like there's a growing desire for these forms of, of things that we need in our lives. There's also, you can just sort of see people are searching for meaning. Like people are talking about the multiverse, and are we living in a simulation? A whole bunch of things that that's just a form of people searching for something greater, something more. I mean, who knows? A lot of these conversations are above my head, but just what it shows to me is people are searching for something, and so um, yeah, with the digital synthetic world and the artificial, it is artificial intelligence. It's not authentic, really. If we're using it in the right way, so we're leading the thoughts and it's just helping us, then that's powerful. But if it's leading us, then we've got massive problems.
Yeah, no, it's true. And because what you're basically, uh, this, because I've heard the multiverse conversations too, right? It's so interesting because people are really looking
Yeah,
for an explanation of the same questions. Why are we here? Where are we going?
yeah,
What's the purpose of this life? And
yeah,
I tend to think it's really simple. Usually, it's really simple. Um, and we hit on it where it's like the connection, right? The love of humans to one another is so meaningful. It's so enjoyable. The connections with ourselves, right? And the experience you went through, the suffering you went through to become a next better version of yourself, right? That can love more, has more capacity to care. Um, it seems like
yeah,
that in is the answer, aka love. I think it's
yeah,
really
yeah, yeah.
simple,
Well,
but it's hard
yeah.
to do. Yeah, yeah,
Well, that's so growing up. So I grew up in a fairly well, a really strict Christian church, which a lot of people would consider to be a cult. But I suppose everyone's experience in religion is different. But for me, growing up, there was the concept that we're all born into sin, so we're all sinners and we're all fallen short, and this focus on everyone's bad. Like, but I don't think that's the most helpful way to look at the world. Everyone's got good and bad, and I think if we focus more on the the positives of people, I've found humans are actually, for the most part, good. They've got good intentions for the most part. Yes, of course, there's people outside of the norm, but people are helpful. They like to help people. They like to connect. They're people just like me, and I think growing up, you get you kind of get a lot of a set of beliefs just by what your environment is. But you've got all of us as we grow into adulthood and find out what our own personal values and what we believe to be true. That takes shape as you progress, and sometimes it takes shape through hard times as well. So, and certainly that was true for me.
hmm I I definitely agree with you that people. I always say people are often doing good in their eyes. Meaning, like, you
Yeah,
could
true.
really go to someone and you think they're doing bad, and then you kind of find out what they're really doing, and you're like, oh, you're keeping the budget for the company. That's why you're being really strict on this group. Oh, right. Like, so there's another thing underneath it. Often, not always, but often, most of the time. But the
Yeah,
second point, you brought up this original sin concept. You know what does work for me? What does work for me about that? Not that we're all like sinful. That, like, to dwell on that is not the point. I think the point is that many of us have dimmed our lights. Our parents had dimmed their lights. Their parents dimmed their lights, meaning we pass on sort of these limiting views to one another. I call them lies, right? Which really don't say, hey, you can do it. You're capable. And I don't know about you, but in my life, Wes, those challenges have come. And then afterwards, you're like, I am capable. I can do this. And you get more and more confident of the good in you.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's so true. It's to have the confidence to know you're on the right path. Just or you can grow and evolve and be better as well. So where we are today isn't necessarily, it's not where we're going to be tomorrow. So the growth, it's exciting. So to have the positive mindset is really has been important to me to evolve into as well.
Yes, I agree 100%. So let's talk a little bit about challenges in a
Yeah.
spirit of vulnerability. So you have this business, you're doing your thing out there in the world. What's one of the
Yeah.
challenges that people might think, hey, you know, everything sounds hunky dory. What's something that you face into just running a business on a regular basis, or maybe particularly right now?
Yeah, so I think it's true for every business. It'll probably resonate for most of us. Is that we're coming into we're already in the probably the biggest transformation of how people work and what work looks like. And so certainly I'm a web designer. I do websites. I do SEO. Uh, they're some of the jobs that are vulnerable to tech if we don't stay on top of it. So and I think no, a lot of people sort of position themselves as experts in AI and so on, or all of a sudden their business is about AI. But it's just changing so fast. It feels almost fraudulent to position yourself as an expert, because I don't think anyone is. Even the people who create these platforms, they don't even kind of know how it works. So it's kind of learning upon itself. So it's an amazing time from that perspective. But so to my own business has evolved a lot in terms of how we help clients to communicate their brand and their message and to be found. And that's been important. I mean, there's so many lessons learned the hard way. I wish as a youngster I had have got some really solid mentors in my corner. As a young person, well, for me, I didn't know where to start really in a business. I was a good web designer, and I'd been in marketing companies, so I knew that kind of stuff, but I didn't know how to run a business. So I've done it. I've learnt lessons the hard way um, along the journey. So lots of lessons. The first person I hired, it went horribly wrong. She stole a bunch of clients. She left and stole a bunch of clients and all that kind of stuff. And you learn these things along the journey.
Yeah. So you'd say that today the challenge is that you're still learning those lessons.
Yeah. I've not arrived. That's for sure.
Yeah, I definitely think the failures that we make in small business, we make them even more, right? Because there's a level
Yeah.
of you're learning everything. Um, and what feels like failure is actually the perfecting of someone that can do a lot more than you can do inside of a corporate environment. And that's one
Mm,
of the things about if you are in a corporate role, having as many roles and types of experience as possible is better for you, because it's very similar to what you're learning, Wes, right? Or what you through your career, right? Is you're learning the commercial problems, the legal problems, the delivery problems, right? The fulfillment problems. So all part of a comprehensive journey, I guess I'd say. Um, and the AI piece, it's interesting. So I think a lot of times we do know what something will do, but we don't know all the consequences, right? So I'm certain that ChatGPT never thought that someone would. I think there was the recent claim by someone that it helped them their son commit suicide, right? Just this horrible sort of
yeah.
outcome, and you don't expect someone would use it for that, but we're going to be discovering more and more things. I hate to use such a graphic negative example, but the other positive side is people have gotten great dating advice, right? Or great business advice. So maybe you have your own built-in business coach, Wes, right? In the future.
Yeah. Yeah, well, it's my own psychologist, my chat GPT. If I'm having a dilemma of something and I talk to it and it talks back and it always has a positive spin, that's what I found anyway. And you mentioned the dating advice. A friend of mine, he was on Tinder, and you do the chat type thing. He was he was getting it all written by ChatGPT, his responses and so on. So that's kind
So
of
he was
fun.
using ChatGPT to respond. Is that what you said?
Yeah. So I think he was moderately successful in that space. So,
I
yeah,
mean, it could be helpful as long as you program it right. With like, what's your intention? I guess you can get to what you want.
yeah.
Interesting.
Imagine so turning up to the first date. I don't know. I just can imagine if it said a whole bunch of fibs. I don't know how that.
Eloquent things. I mean, it was really eloquent, right? And then
Yeah,
you're not. You're like, this guy's a dead doornail. I don't know. You've
yeah.
asked ChatGPT yet? You could ask it even for advice on yourself. It's really interesting because it knows your whole history. So,
Oh,
um,
yeah.
yeah. So
Yeah,
let's
you've got to
share. Hmm?
it's got to you've got to prompt it even to be brutally honest as well, because it can have a tendency just to um, confirm, confirmation bias. Sort of leads you down a positive path where it doesn't necessarily show you those blind spots, which would be helpful. I found so you got to tell it, be
You
brutally
found.
honest.
You speak from
Yeah, so
experience. ChatGPT is your therapist, eh, or your bestie.
yeah, yeah, that's right.
Well,
Yeah.
let's close with a piece of advice, Wes, that you discovered in your leadership of your business and in life that you wish someone would have told you earlier in the journey.
Yeah, well, I think the biggest lesson is mistakes are very seldom fatal. So, and they're very rarely irreversible. So, I think if I was starting again, I would be far more brave than what I was starting out. Just yeah, so I would firstly have more confidence to approach clients and to approach people who had been successful if I was starting out again. Now these are hard things as when you're a young man. When I was a young man, I probably lacked a lot of confidence in that space. So I think just remembering that whatever you do, it doesn't matter if you go to a presentation and you don't hit it quite right. Well, it's just a lesson learned, and you move on, and it's not fatal. It's not the end of the world. You can learn from it, grow, and improve the next time. So yeah,
So
just
don't fear failure.
yeah, I would say so. Perfectionism probably was an issue, so not trying to be perfect all the time. I think that's valuable.
So valuable, so valuable. Well, thank you so much, Wes, for joining me today. I really appreciate it, and I appreciate you, appreciate your time, and appreciate you as an audience for listening in. Um, you can learn more. Wes, where can they learn more about your services?
Best thing, the website uplift360.com.au. From there, you'll find social media as well. I'll connect on LinkedIn with anyone. So if people want to connect, just put that through on LinkedIn, and that's cool.
Awesome. And you can check out wakeuptoyourlifemagic.com to learn more about the book, or drhelmutlove.com to learn more about 9-figure leadership strategies. Thank you so much for listening in. I hope you have a great rest of your day.